Hello guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel, Make Them Tech. Today we want to look at something very interesting titled Getting Started with Deno, writing your first API using Oak Framework. Some few weeks ago, I released a video tutorial on 10 things that make Deno unique and different from Node. I would like you guys to watch that video. And if you are interested in Deno or getting started with Deno, this tutorial is actually for you. We're going to be writing our first API in Deno using Oak Framework. What is Deno? Deno is the summation of four things. The V8 JavaScript engine written in C++, Create written in Rust, Tokyo, the asynchronous library written in Rust also, the modules in TypeScript. Yes, what is Oak? Oak is a middleware framework inspired by Core Node framework for Deno HTTP server. For those that are familiar with Core, Oak will not be strange because it's actually inspired by Core Node framework. You know, in Node we have many frameworks. We have the likes of Express, we have Core, we have Sales, we have Meteor, and so on. And also in Deno, we have Oak, we have ABC and others. So in this tutorial, we're going to be making use of Oak framework. Okay, so now the first thing you need to do is to create a folder, then name it whatever you want to name it, and then open it with your code editor. I'm using Visual Studio Code. So the first thing we're going to do is to create a file called index.js. Yes, index.js. So we are going to write our code now. That is in Deno. I'm going to be using JavaScript. You can either use JavaScript or TypeScript. Yes. So the first thing we're going to do is to import a package from our Oak framework. So Deno affords us the opportunity to import exactly what we need from a particular URL. So what I'm going to be doing is to say import, and that's the application from HTTP. Yes. So you can easily get the URL of Oak online. You can go to the GitHub repo for this URL and get it there. So I'm going to declare a variable called app, new application. So we're going to engage the package that we have just imported from the URL, just like we have in our Express framework. So we have the app, then we load in the Express function. So we are going to run this application on port 4000. Let's just put for port 4000. And then the application will listen on, okay, yes, app.listen, same thing, port 4000. So just like we have in Node, you know, in Node we have what we call middleware. So also we have that in Deno. So in Deno, we use the same format, and that is app.use, and then you put in your async function. And then at this point, you know, in your middleware, when you're bringing in a function, there is an object called context. So we call it context, and that makes you, that gives you accessibility to the response object, the request object, and even cookies and others. So with this, you can bootstrap your middleware and use it the way you want to use it, anyhow you want to use it. So what we are going to do now is to console.log the content of this context to see what is really there. CTX, yeah, context. So I'm going to run the application now. And don't forget, when you're running the application, it's quite different from Node. You have to Deno run, then you have to put the permission, and then you put the exact name of the file with the extension, and you run it. Okay, sorry, we have to put an indicator here. So let me say that's, what's that? Yeah, server listening on port 4000. So now let me restart our server. So oh, I've not saved it. Sorry. Okay, so you can see it here. So actually, if you are running this application or if you are running this for the first time, meaning you are importing this class for the first time from this URL, you are going to see the progress, meaning it's going to first download from this URL, then catch it locally on your system. So when you run it subsequent times, you are not going to be having that again. So you can just see now, you can't see anything like download, 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 download. You are just seeing listening on port 4000. So I'm going to fire a request against this endpoint now. Let's see what context has for us. I'm going to open my Postman, and then we put our local host and then port 4000. Yeah. So let's fire this request now. So we are not actually sending anything to the client. Let's check our console. So you can see it here now. This is the content of context. We have request, we have response, we have cookies, states, and so on. So this means that you have access to the request object, you have access to the response object also, just like you have in a Node. Now let's try to console.log the method and the URL of the request being made. Yes, let's try to do that now. Let's say method, then we have what we call context dot response request rather dot method, then URL. To have context dot request, sorry, request dot URL. So you can see the method is a get request, and then also the URL is localhost colon 4000. So you can also, any other thing that you want to access from the request object is at your fingertips with you writing your code inside your middleware the way it is. Okay, so now, so if you also want to undo error, okay, before that, now this is what we have, and let's say we want to send something to the server, to the client rather, so we have what we call response dot status. Let's put it at 200, and then we have response dot body. So here, the value you are assigning to context.response.body determines the type of text, or the type of text that you are sending to the client, whether it is JSON or just a plain text or HTML. Yeah. So here now I've just sent hello world. So let's try out. So we can see it here now. Hello world. Hello world. So that's cool. Okay. Now, for example, if you are sending a JSON, you see it here now. Let's say I just say message. That's how we're going to do it. And then if I go back here, so you can see now, you can see that the type of file has changed. That is a message hello world. So, but actually this is just like a middleware. Any request that goes into this endpoint will actually trigger this middleware. So because it's general and all routes connect to it. Now, if I want to undo error, easily I can just do my normal get, my normal use. And in that wise, because I'm having another middleware, so you have to wait. Okay, just put it here normally. Okay, yeah. So okay, so that's that. So let me just cancel this. Okay, now we are going to use what we call app use, then async, as context, next. So try, let's await, next. Then we have to catch the error. So now our context dot response, this time around response dot status. Okay, let's just customize every error to be 500. Then context response dot body. Let's just put let's say error. Let's say that's it. Okay. I think this is just a simple way of handling error, but probably you can handle your error one after the other, 404, 400 and cool. And now let's talk about routing. How do we route in Deno? Let's create a file called router.js. Oh, sorry, let me change it to routes. Let's just call it routes. Yeah, I think this is better. Routes. Okay, so let's import router from the same URL. Okay, so we have this, and then let's load our router. So router, and then put your get, just like we have in Node, just the same way we route in Node. Let's call it router users, and then we bring in our sync function. So we have our context again. So here now let's just create a small data, and then let's call it this ID, let's call it 0, then name Joshua, then age, let's call it 33. Okay. Okay. Okay, so we now need to send the request or send this data to the client, and that's response dot status, and that's 200, and then we bring in our context dot response dot body. And like I said, the value assigned to this response dot body determines the type of text, whether it is URL encoded type of file or JSON file or plain text or HTML. So I'm going to put in just like we have here. Yeah, so I'm going to say users, then we have users. Yeah. So then we need to export the router. Export default router. Okay, so I hope there is no mistake. So import router from okay, so we have to configure the middleware here, app use. That was going to be router dot routes. Yeah, and then the second one is app dot use. That's same router dot allowed methods. Okay, so let's fire a request now. That is against the endpoint users. Let's see what's we're going to have. Okay, so we go back to our Postman. So we come here, we say users. Wow. So we can see the results here. I hope you guys can see this. Yeah. So this is just a simple way of writing an API in Deno using Oak framework. I believe you guys will agree with me that it's also as simple as Node. You don't have to stress yourself. You just bring in your router, you load it, and then you write your code. So this is what we have for you guys in this tutorial. You can look at the GitHub repo online to look at other things that constitute Oak framework. So it's actually a framework, and also you can explore others. So Deno is trending now, and I want to believe that you can also join the community and start writing codes in Deno, though it's not yet matured like Node, but at least you can give it a shot, and it's actually cool. Guys, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Make Them Tech. We will be bringing to you from time to time tutorial videos on Node, Deno, JavaScript, and so on. And also turn on the notification bell so that when we drop a new video, you can be notified. Thank you. I will see you guys in my next video.